Good day and welcome to good day. It's grim actually. I just thought I'd just say good day, and I just thought actually it's pretty grim now. Look, I'm wet. Not too wet, not too wet. It's actually been a day of two halves, as it often is at this time of year. This morning the sun was actually rather nice and it was cold, and then this afternoon came and the skies became full of cloud, grey cloud, and it's been off and on rain. But just as I needed to come down here to help somebody move some wood from their home to here, it started sort of really raining quite heavily. And yeah, you know, isn't it always the way? You know, we could have done all of this morning without a drop of rain, and then this afternoon when it had to happen, it's rather wet and miserable. But you know what, we're getting free wood, and free wood is good. I'm not sure what we're going to use it for. At the moment it's going to go into the paddock area, which I'm pegging out with one of the trustees of the charity on Thursday afternoon. So it's just going to go into the paddock for the moment, and then we can look at it next time there's a work party, and we can see whether it can be used on site for communal things on site, or whether it might be best to keep it in store for something that may be needed, or whether it can be used for edging beds. They're pretty long pieces of wood. They're about, I think about 6 meters, some of them. They were for joists or something in a roof, and they weren't used. So yeah, the guy, one of the people who's been here as a plot holder for very many years, like 40 years, his next door neighbour opposite, it's wood from that person's house, and that person has a van, so they're loading up the truck, rather. They're loading up the truck, and then they're coming down here, and I'm going to help them unload. But yeah, it's pretty grim at the moment out there. But hey, you know what? I've worked outside in much worse weather than this. But yeah, it's the coldness of it at the moment. I had to put gloves on to come down here, because when I went to the library to pick up a book I'd reserved earlier in the day around 2 o'clock, temperature wise it was okay, but my hands got really cold, because it was that windy cold, if you like, where your body is sort of okay, but your extremities get really cold. So yeah, it was gloves time. And I think I hear a truck pulling up at the gate. I think so. Let me have a look. It wasn't the truck that I thought it was going to be. It was a different one. So no sign of them yet. Maybe because it's got really quite wet, they're calling it off, and we'll do it a different day. I'll have to WhatsApp the plot tenant in a minute and find out whether that is the case. But once I'd worked out that it wasn't the truck, I was looking around, because I was sure I had some perlite, which I was going to mix with compost for seed sowing this week, because I'm going to be doing courgettes and cucumbers, some tomatoes, and maybe a few other things this week. I want to get the carrots in, because if we don't get the carrots in, we won't have any carrots in July whatsoever. And we're expecting to be moving mid-August, so you know, I need to get a wiggle on if I'm going to get those carrots in and be able to harvest before we leave. But I had a really good look around a moment ago for the perlite, the bag of perlite, and I thought, can't see the bag of perlite anywhere. Got down on my hands and knees, I looked absolutely everywhere, and then I just sat down to do this video. And go on, Mr. Spider, go on. And there it is, old bag of perlite. So yeah, I'm going to mix that with our compost that we received last week, just to lighten the compost a bit, because seedlings don't like to richer compost, and this will help add air to it as well, so the seedlings will like that. So yeah, we're going to be doing some seed sowing, maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday. I'll see how the day goes. I thought today was going to be quite a good day after a really wet bank holiday Monday, but yeah, the heavens opened this afternoon. It's been off and on rain, but the rain seems now to be in for a good couple of hours. Tomorrow there's more rain, and Thursday there's more rain as well, which is a bit of a pain. But you know what, it's all work. The work that I need to do at the moment is all within here, apart from putting out those turnips. So maybe if I see a window where I think it really is going to be dry, I can put the turnips out. In fact, what I think I might do, I might put the turnips out. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the beetroot and the turnips out of the polytunnel today, and I'm going to put them out. But I am going to cover them with a lid, propagation lid, mainly to stop birds pecking. You know what? I think us gardeners could really do with lids for trays which are made of mesh, so that we can put seedlings outside without the fear of them being pecked by pigeons or other birds. That is something that I really think would be a good idea. You know, like I put mesh on the top of the grow house, and the other spring cabbage that I've got, the seedlings are in that. I think it would be really good to have some type of cover which is just a mesh cover, you know, and preferably made out of metal or a really long-term UV plastic, something that'll last 10 or 15 years, or metal. Yeah, or metal. That would be really useful. I'm surprised it's not available. Maybe I need to patent it. But I know over the past couple of years, I've thought, you know what, I do want to put some things out, and I'd like them to be blown about in the air. So I want them without a cover, but I need to cover them, because if I don't, I know the pigeons are going to come down and peck at them. And the pigeons, they like the turnip leaves, particularly when they're young like this. And I know they're going to come down and peck. So yeah, so anyway, I'm going to put this plastic lid on today, put a brick on top of the plastic lid. I'll keep the vents up here. The vents I'll keep fully open, both vents I'll keep fully open, because I don't want them to be protected from the elements. I don't want them to be protected from wind, though obviously in this they will be, or rain or cold at the moment. I just want them to be protected by pigeons. So I am going to put them out, because I do think that it would be good to have them outside. That will then give me a bit more space in the polytunnel for the coming days to be able to do the seed sowing that I'm going to be doing, which isn't a lot this year, and we're going to be sowing beans direct. So it's not a lot of seed sowing that I'm doing. I'm not doing huge amounts of tomatoes like I've done before, you know. So usually I've sown enough seed to have 100 plants, and we've used 84 and given others away. This year I'm not doing that. I'm going to look at the varieties that I've got, see which are early maturing, and I'm going to sow some of those. And yeah, you know, fingers crossed that they germinate and come up. I think 12 plants would do us well, particularly if they're early maturing ones this year. It really is funny. I've been thinking for so long about, oh, you know, I'm only going to grow X, Y, and Z because we're going to be leaving sort of halfway through the harvest season, if you like. But then I've got to the point where I'm thinking, oh, hang on, we're leaving halfway through the harvest season. What do I need to sow now to make sure we've got some harvests to come? But yeah, anyway, more on that another day. And I'm going to leave this segment of a week at the plot here, and I'm going to water the polytunnel, or not the polytunnel, that's getting plenty of water at the moment. I'm going to water the beds in the polytunnel. Oh, there's a red kite. Oh, look at it. Oh, they're so big. They're so big. Yeah, I'm going to water the bed in the polytunnel because we've got things growing there. And I have to say, the bluebells, which have been the bane of my life for many a year because they were underneath the polytunnel when we put the polytunnel down. I didn't think they would come through the fabric, the cardboard and everything we put down. But in this, what is it, the 6th or 7th year of growing in this polytunnel, they've come through and they're looking rather spectacular. So yeah, look, I will see you later in the week for a little bit of seed sowing. Bye. Good day. I'm in the paddock area, and as you can see there's lots of pegs because we've been pegging out new plots here. These are going to be starter plots, 18 square metre. Most of them are going to be 9 by 2 meters, and then because this wonderful sycamore is staying here, this plot here is 6 meters by 3 meters, still 18 square meters, and then 2 plots over here will also be 6 by 3 meters. But yeah, it's wonderful to see sort of further growing space coming together. We reckon we'll have about 12 starter plots here. So this is the corner, the far corner near our main gate. So yeah, we think we'll have 12 starter plots, which will be twice the size of the community gardens, but smaller than a quarter plot at the allotments. So that's really great. Very windy here today. And our fence line, you can see the saplings that we planted last year. Even with the drought we had, they've taken, you can see bluebells in there. Not bluebells, primroses, periwinkle, forget-me-not. This is a hedgerows. So yeah, it'll be a lovely space. And then because we changed the size, they were going to be 10 meters by 1.8 meters, which is 18 square meters. But I'm glad we changed most of them to 9 by 2. Because A, it was easier to mark out, but B, what it also means is that we'll be able to keep 2 of these composting bays. There were going to be 3, but now there's going to be 2 because we need to take this one out to fit one of the plots here, which is fine, but that will be a good composting area for starter plots. So that's great. But yeah, pretty windy. But look, lovely sky. So that's 9 plots fully pegged out and 3 plots partially pegged out, because if you imagine, some of the sides of the other 3 plots are already pegged out because of pathways and plots that we've already done. So that was a good job done this afternoon. Rain did come in about 3 o'clock. It's come mostly about 5 now, but it didn't last very long, which was great. So we just worked through it. And I'm so pleased that we can now see progress in that area and know that those plots are going to be utilised. They're going to be offered to the community gardeners first and then to the external list after that. So yeah, I'm pleased that they're in progress now, because it's taken a while. But you know, these things do, you know, these things do take time. And I was going to be down for much of today, and I was going to do a new thing called a day at the plot. But actually I had to do more work than expected at my desk. I spoke to Mum this morning unusually. I knew we had this afternoon, so that was going to form part of that. But I just thought I would occasionally do a segment, a day at the plot, because sometimes I am here for maybe 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon, particularly when it gets through to this time of year. I mean, obviously there will be less things to do because we're not going to be growing as much as we had done previously. But I will be sowing seeds. I've looked at my seed box today for tomatoes, 2 types of tomatoes we're going to be growing, Vivi's cucumbers, some courgettes, carrots, and some other lettuce. So, you know, we are going to be growing things down here this year, as you know, but just not so full on. And maybe, you know, that's the reason we're not growing so much this year, particularly of the winter things, because we wouldn't be here to harvest them. And even though I don't mind leaving things for other people, when we're going to be busy, hopefully moving house, I don't want to take on too much, give myself too much work here when I'm going to have to be full on with Richard preparing to move house and moving house. So, you know, that's why there's going to be less growing this year. I still think most of the beds are now going to be utilised, but sort of with different things, not with those overwintering crops that we usually have, like parsnips, Brussels sprouts and brassicas, you know. So the brassicas we've already got in, they'll stay in, but we won't be putting oh, excuse me, we won't be putting any further ones in. Having said that, of course, we've got 10 in modules here to go in, but I already know what bed they're going to go in. So we're not going to be sowing more to go in. That's what I mean. Right, I'm going to leave it here and I'll be back later in the week to do some seed sowing. So I will see you then. Bye. Good day and welcome to a rather early Saturday segment of A Week at the Plot. I mean, early on Saturday. I don't mean I'm doing the Saturday segment earlier in the week. It is Saturday. It's about 9:15 at the moment. And I've given myself a couple of hours down here to get stuff done. We still need to get quite a lot of stuff done at home. And whilst I'm down here, Richard is at home painting. And I have come down to get some seed sowing done. And interestingly, when I was coming down here, I suddenly realised that this is the last major seed sowing I'm likely to be doing on this plot, other than beans, before we move elsewhere. Unless, of course, we win the lottery, in which case we'll, you know, maybe it won't be. But yeah, it's likely to be the last substantive seed sowing. And when I say substantive, I don't mean that I'm sowing a lot of seeds, but I'm sowing maybe about 8 or 9 or 10 different vegetables stroke varieties in the next 2 hours. And some is going to be, most is going to be in the polytunnel. Some carrots is going to be in the raised bed just here. I also want to try and get some of the lettuce in the polytunnel that is of our own saved seed of Fine Speckled Oak, we now think. I want to get some of those seedlings into this raised bed as well. I'd like to get the spring cabbage that we've got in our grow house, which has got the metal mesh at the top. I'd like to get that into beds today. I'll most probably, excuse me, frog in my throat. I'll most probably be sowing, planting those cabbage between other cabbage, because some of the cabbage is going to be coming out and I'm going to be using the same bed. If you're into rotational, please do rotational. I don't worry about rotational particularly. I try not to grow the same crops in the same beds, but this year I've already got brassicas in 2 beds which are growing, and I'm going to fill gaps with the other spring cabbage that I've got. Will I get around to doing the turnips today? I don't know. I think the beetroots still need further growing time before they go in. a rather loud helicopter came over, and I paused filming, or I stopped filming in fact, because I thought if I can't hear myself talking, you most probably can't either. But what I was about to say is none of what I've just said I want to get done is going to be done unless I get out there and do it. So that's what I'm going to start to do. I'm going to stop rambling and get out there and start doing stuff. And the stuff that I'm going to be doing almost straight away, oh lovely robin, almost straight away, is the carrots, because I'm going to be doing 3 types: Amsterdam Forcing, early Nantes, and then I'm going to be sowing our own London market saved carrot seed as well. How many rows am I going to do? I think I will do 6 rows, and in the rest of the bed, I think what I'll do is I'll transplant some of the lettuce seedlings that we've got in the poly out. Yeah. So first of all, I need to uncover this bed that has been covered in cardboard over the winter. So let me just get on and do that, and then I will do the rows for the carrots. I pricked out the lettuce on the right, and they're going to be going into this bed next to the carrots, and the ones on the left, they will likely go into the poly, or if I need more, they'll most probably go in here. But what I have done is I pricked out different sizes of lettuce. So some of them, some here you can see are quite large, that one's smaller, I think this one's quite small here as well. So yeah, they'll hopefully grow at different rates, and they'll hopefully grow as long as the slugs don't get to them. That's 20 of these Fine Speckled Oak planted out, various sizes, even this tiny one here. And yeah, I hope that they're going to grow on well. They won't have an issue with cold out here, even though it's going to get down to 5 degrees again, because they've been uncovered in the poly, so they should be fine, because the poly is of course ambient temperature. And I had to break off during the planting of these because a fellow plot holder called out to me and there was a wood pigeon stuck under netting on somebody's plot, so we had to go and rescue the pigeon and got the pigeon out, which was great. I think it's always advisable, you know, peg down that netting really well so nothing can get in, or leave it draped at either end so that things can get out if they do get in. Yeah, it's important we look after our wildlife. And I hope the wildlife and the weather will look after these lettuce too. 2 jobs done so far. Planting out of the Fine Speckled Oak and 3 types of carrots sown, which is great. Now I'm going to be sowing 2 types of tomato. I normally do lots more, but I'm trying to go for ones that I know are tentatively early varieties. So Guernsey Island tomato and Black Krim. I don't have any cherry tomato seeds, and actually cherry tomatoes are usually quite acidic, so they're not good for my Barretts. So I'm just going to stick to these 2. I would normally be doing red ox heart and Amish paste, which we absolutely adore, and also the Hungarian one. What's that one? Oh, I can't remember what that one is. But this, because they're larger, they usually mature later, so they're most probably going to be maturing potentially after we've left. So I'm just going for these 2 varieties this year. I am going to be doing Vivi's cucumbers. These are from our own saved seed from last year, and these were the square seeds from the square cucumber. I'm not sure if you remember, but there was 2 cucumbers that we saved seed from. One was quite square and one was the normal round type. And though I'm not doing a highly scientific experiment this year, I don't have time. So I won't be comparing the 2 seeds this year because I don't have time. But it will be interesting to see if these square ones come up square or whether they come up round. I'm sure they'll come up round. But yeah, cucumbers, they're going in. I'm also going to be doing some Lollo Rosso lettuce. Pretty quick growing, and with the weather warming up potentially, I'm hoping that we'll get, you know, some of these going. Yeah, I thought it was something else. There was a packet inside, but it does actually say Lollo Rosso on there, so that's all right. And then finally we have golden zucchini, golden yellow zucchini, so yellow courgette, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seeds left. So I'm going to be sowing all those 5 seeds. All those 5 seeds. Yeah, I suppose I can say all those 5 seeds. I will be sowing the 5 seeds that we have. And yeah, that will do for today. I'm thinking I'm also going to be sowing some more turnips and some more beetroot. I'm thinking whether I do that direct or not, but given that we've had the having to rescue a pigeon, that's taken up sort of quite a bit of my time this morning already, so I don't think I'm going to get on to sowing turnips and beetroot today. That will have to wait. I'll have to get down here early tomorrow morning maybe and get that job done. So yeah, I will do that. But now I'm just going to get on and sow these. The cucumbers and the zucchini, the courgettes as we call them in the UK, they're going to be sown in large modules. And the 2 types of tomato I'm just going to sow in a normal tray. So half will be one type, half will be the other type. And the lettuce I'll also be sowing in a normal tray as well. Quite thinly though, you know, hopefully the slugs and snails won't get too many of the ones that we've already put out, or the ones in the poly here. We've got a few lettuce already growing in the poly here. One that is, I think that must be Lollo Rosso actually, because it looks like Lollo Rosso, so I think it must be. What was I saying? I've lost track of what I was saying. Yes, sowing thinly, because I most probably only want another 10 for successional sowing, so they're going to be sown quite thinly. And that reminds me, I need to do a bit of a tidy here, because I've got the Mizuna coming to flower, but I want to take off. In fact, let's just go down and have a look at that. Hang on a moment. So this is the Mizuna that I want to save seed from, and you can see it's got flowers coming up here. What I'm going to do is cut these flowers off down here that are forming, because I want the energy to go into here and produce the best possible seed. So yeah, I don't want too much energy going into the rest of the plant. I want it going in up here. So we're going to be harvesting the Mizuna leaves for salad, and we'll also harvest these flower spikes here as well for salad, and then leave these up here just to produce seed. That's, I think, the most sensible thing for me to do. And also the other thing is, I planted some of the lettuce at the base here, so I want to thin out the bottom as well. Let me see if I can tip you up. Oh, it's creaking. Yeah, so I want to thin out the base, because there's some lettuce that I've just planted along here. But you know what, that will wait for another day, but I just thought I'd let you know. And of course these will come up a wonderful yellow, as most brassicas do. Right, get to seed sowing, Paul. After me saying I was going to sow the cucumbers and courgettes in modules, I didn't, only because I forgot that that's what I was going to do. I grabbed the pots and filled them up with compost, and as you can see, this compost has also got perlite in it, and that is basically because I have perlite. Vivi and I were discussing the other day seed sowing compost and what compost we use for sowing seeds, and usually we both use a multi-purpose compost like here. And what I've done on this occasion is, because I had the perlite, because I found it the other day, I've mixed that in with the compost to basically reduce per cubic inch, if you like, the nutrient content of the compost that I'm sowing into, only because I have the perlite. If I didn't, I wouldn't, and I'd have just used the compost. So here we've got courgettes, which have been sown individually in pots, so there's 5 there. Then down here are the cucumbers. I've sown 2 per pot, so we've got 8 pots, so potentially 16 plants. I don't need 16 plants, but slugs, snails, and if there are any that we have left over that we don't need, then I can give them to other people. I'm not sure if you can see there, but it says, let me lift that up, GI, Guernsey Island. On the other side it says BK, Black Krim. Pop that back in. So these are our tomatoes, and then Lollo Rosso on the end here. And of course, what am I going to do? Give them a good water. And what I will do is do what I'm doing now, and then later on, I think it will be much later on though, usually I leave about half an hour, but later on I'll come back and give it another watering, or give them another watering rather, because that will allow time for the water to really soak into the compost. Right, that's that job done too. Well, in fact, that's that job done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gave myself 2 hours, and that 2 hours is almost up. So I haven't got the spring cabbage planted, I haven't got the turnips planted, but you know what, I'm still pretty happy with having got this seed sowing done. It's something I've been wanting to do in the case of the Amsterdam Forcing carrots for 6 weeks. So yeah, you know, I'm glad to have those seeds sown, so fingers crossed. And then if I can find an hour tomorrow, I'll come down and do the planting out of the spring cabbage and the turnips. Yeah, fingers crossed I can. If I can't, I will try and do it on Monday. Anyway, there we are. So I'm going to leave it there for this week's A Week at the Plot. There's one further job I'm going to do before I go, which is water the carrots that we have sown and the lettuce that we put in. And then after that, I'm going to give you a view of some tulips that are coming out in Jax's trough. So if you've got any questions, any comments, please do leave them down below and I'll get back to you. And I hope I will see you, if you're on Planet Vegetaria, throughout next week with further segments. Or if you watch this on YouTube, there'll be another upload in a week's time. See you very soon. Bye.